Hello, everyone, and happy, or just a good evening. Thank you for joining us for Wisdom Not's Why Not series. My name is Dr. Wendy Ballaby, and I am the Executive Director and founder of Wisdom Not. Wisdom Not is a nonprofit geared to educate youth on careers in sports besides being an athlete. So we're not looking to take away anybody's dreams. We just want to give you plan B, C, D, and F, just in case you don't make it into the professional ranks. So our series today, our speaker today is going to be is Marc Eversley, which is the GM of the Chicago Bulls, and Stacey King is going to be doing the interview of him. Stacey King is a excuse me, is a retired NBA player, won 3 consecutive championships with the Chicago Bulls. He played at the University of Oklahoma. He was an All-American player. Stacey and I actually go way back. I've known him since I was a child back in Oklahoma when he was playing with OU. He currently is a broadcaster for the Chicago Bulls, and so I get to spend a lot of time with those who travel the team. So Stacey is going to be our interviewer as we talk to Marc Eversley this evening.
Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that. That was your check's in the mail for that nice introduction. And now, before we're going to bring Marc Eversley on now, and this is one of my favorite guys here, and we're going to talk to him about his career, some of his career choices as he came up the ladder. Just a little bit about Marc. Before working in the NBA, he spent 5 years at the Nike's world headquarters in Oregon as an NBA player relationship manager. He advanced very quickly in that, moved up the ladder. He's good people skills, understands people and players very well. That's one of the reasons why he's one of the best GMs in the NBA. Currently, right now, he's one of, I think, 6 or 7 GMs, African-American GMs in the league, which is amazing. So he's in a select group, and it's my pleasure to bring him aboard right now. Marc, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How are you, Stace?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. I get a chance to talk to some famous people now. It's really good to be on this little segment.
Do you have somebody coming on after me, or I'm not famous?
No. You famous. You famous. So we're gonna start it off real nicely here. We're gonna, we want everyone to know how you came about, in the role that you are now. What did you do to get to this role that you're in? Is this something that you always aspired to be as a NBA general manager?
So a little bit about me. I was born in London, England. I grew up in Toronto. We moved to Toronto when I was 4 years old. So I'm British, I'm Canadian, and I'm also American. So I hold 3 passports. I come from a family of my brother and I, my mom and dad. We grew up in Toronto, and we grew up in the nice little neighborhood called Jane and Finch. Eventually moved out to the suburbs, and from there I took my talents to Urbana University, which is in Urbana, Ohio. It's an NAIA school. I was there on a scholarship, and I played basketball, and somewhere along the way I figured out that, I was pretty good, but I wasn't that good. And, I had aspirations of playing in the NBA, but, somewhere along the way, my coach is like, you're pretty good, but you're not that good. So you might want to focus on your studies. And, to answer your question, I did have aspirations of working for an NBA franchise. I didn't know at what level. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew I wanted to be around the game and stay connected to the game. And again, I wasn't good enough to play in the NBA, win 3 championships like yourself, but, I felt like the next best thing was to be around the game. And, I applied for a job at Nike way back when. And, for all the folks on this Zoom today, I just want you to know that there's no blueprint to becoming an NBA GM. There's no blueprint to working for an NBA franchise. And, I'm proud of where I am today. And, I'm proud of the path that I took to get here. It's unconventional. But when I started at Nike over 20 years ago, I started working in a Nike factory outlet store. And, I was the guy running around trying to get shoes on kids or get shoes on folks and, trying to sell Nike gear. And from there, kind of worked my way up to being the country manager for all sports marketing properties in Canada. And at the time, the Vancouver Grizzlies were a franchise. The Raptors were a franchise. I worked with Canada Basketball, which is the federation, and, really focused in on, establishing and building relationships. And, that's something that's true and dear to my heart, is building relationships. And, that's kind of gotten to me to where I am today.
That's interesting because, one of the questions was going to be like what classes you took, what experiences did you have that kind of led you to this way? And you pretty much answered it right there. And that just shows the kids that are listening to this that, like you said, there is no blueprint. It's just getting out there, finding opportunities, making the most of those opportunities and try to go as far as you can and believe in yourself.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. One of my favorite words is perseverance. And again, there's no blueprint to getting to the position that I'm in today. I cannot sit here and tell you that the business administration degree that I got is the reason why, I'm in this position today. Did it help? No doubt. Did going to school help? It absolutely did. We talk a lot about our players, about building habits and, building a foundation. And what school did for me was help me develop those habits and build a foundation, be on time, be responsible, being a good teammate, having high character. And, the people who I have to thank for that is my parents is, really, they're the ones who instilled all these values in me and I carry them forth today, no doubt. I mean, that's how I raise my kids today, build good habits, have a foundation of love and trust and respect and, carry yourself, treat people the way you want to be treated. Those are the things that have gotten me to the point, where I am today.
What level of importance do you place on these experiences that you've had over the years and others in the work that you do now as general manager of the Chicago Bulls?
I owe a lot to the game of basketball. Whether I was working at Nike, this is the 4th NBA team that I've worked for. It's taken me all over the world. It's taken me all over the globe. And, you've been all over the world as well because of basketball. And, again, it's about having, a core value belief system of, how you want to carry yourself, not only as a basketball player, but for me as, a husband and a father, but also, the way I kind of carry myself, when I walk out into the streets of Chicago, I've got a huge responsibility in terms of the position that I have. And, I take pride in that. I take pride in treating people with respect and kindness. And, when I walk through those doors at the Advocate Center or the United Center, I work my butt off. I work my tail off. And, those are things that are just really, really, really important to me. And, it's kind of the way I carry myself on a daily basis.
With STEM being such a big influence on kids, how does a team use data and analytics in scouting and development?
So analytics is, we call it a tool in our organization. At the end of the day, it's about finding the best talent and building out your roster. Analytics and data can help you solidify some of those decisions. We use analytics and data on a daily basis, whether we're tracking player movement on court or whether we're tracking how hard they're working in the weight room. It's a tool. It's something that we use a lot. It doesn't drive how we operate, but it certainly solidifies our decision-making process and how we operate on a daily basis.
Now, we have a lot of kids who really love math that are listening to this show. So how has the NBA grown to rely upon people who are strong in math and science and gain a competitive edge on the court?
It's really about data and analytics. And, we've got a pretty robust analytics department. We've got a bunch of people who work in that department that are way smarter than I am, who I rely on every single day. Whether you're talking about math or science, you talk about the data on court. A big element of our business is player nutrition and player health. And, injuries are a big part of the NBA. They're a big part of sports, and being able to measure, player data, player tracking data, load management, we do that all through computers and technology, and, math and science are a big part of that. We rely heavily on our performance department in terms of who we put on the floor and when we put them on the floor and for how long they're on the floor. You often hear about load management and players taking nights off or, taking weeks off at a time. It's a really important tool that we use, and it's something that kind of helps us get through the 82 game schedule, so we're ready to compete at the highest level in the playoffs. And I think last year you saw, the second half of the season, injuries really derailed how we operated as we kind of closed out the season and then went into the playoffs. Obviously, COVID was a big part of that as well. But, data, analytics, math, science, they're all intertwined in how we kind of operate on a daily basis.
Because the Bulls want to develop certain qualities in players and coaches, what qualities do they look for that are not related to the physical ability?
So really you're talking about, the elements of a player off the court. And, Billy and the coaching staff will tell you the one thing that they cherish about our roster is they're able to coach our guys every single day. There's not a lot of management in terms of guys showing up late, not being on time, not wanting to work hard. They can coach our players every single day because they're committed, they're invested, they're on time, they're of high character. Two of our favorite words are self-awareness, and we've got a bunch of guys on our roster who have really good self-awareness. They know who they are, they know what kind of impact they have, they're open to coaching, they're open to tough coaching. And for Billy and the staff, that's something that's really important.
When you look at the players and you talk about the continuity and believing in one another and, don't let go of the rope, is it the same mentality in the front office when all you guys are together, everybody's on the same page, everybody's moving in the same direction along with the coaching staff?
It's critically important. What I can tell you is in our front office anyways, we're not always on the same page. And I actually think that's very healthy. If I have an idea or Arturis has an idea or anybody, one of the scouts has an idea, I think it's really healthy to disagree with that person and really truly understand what that idea is about. Whether you're talking about an evaluation of a player or whether that player can fit on our roster, we often disagree. And I think it's really healthy. I think the key is when you come out of that room, everybody feels like they had a part in making the decision. So we really talk about consensus, coming to a consensus, giving everybody a platform to kind of voice what they want to voice why they voice that. But at the end of the day, the two decision makers, myself and Arturis, we ultimately make the decision. And it's important for everybody in the room to feel like they were part of that decision. And when we walk out of that room, we're all banded and pulling that boat in the same direction.
Now, we talk about, the importance of, as the team and everybody, all the guys together and moving forward. When you look at the way the NBA is now, it's always been proactive. The NBA has always been a trendsetter as far as doing things different than the other leagues. We talked about it earlier, introduced you, and, you're one of 6, general manager, African-American general manager. How important is it for you to continue to open doors for other African-Americans who want to try to be where you are at some point?
For me, it's critically important. There's a couple of things that kind of stand out is, yes, I'm the first Black GM of the Chicago Bulls, but for me, I don't want to be the last. I want to be here a long time, but when I leave, I want to be sure that, there's an opportunity for somebody else who looks like me, whether that's somebody who's African-American or somebody of brown skin or somebody who's a diverse candidate. And it's my responsibility as we build out our staff to make sure that I give those people an opportunity. It's to make sure that I'm doing things like I'm doing today and telling my story and letting people know that it's possible to get where I am. And I don't just want to stop here. This is a great job and I love Chicago and I want to be here forever, but I want to be in a position where I'm able to tell that story and share my story and, maybe aspire somebody else to strive to get into this position because, there's only 30 of them and I'm fortunate. I'm one of 6 in the league right now, but, there's a lot of talented people who work with me, who look like me and who I hope one day get the opportunity to do exactly what I'm doing today.
Let's have a little fun now. Let's talk about your basketball career. Do you still play a little bit? Because I would put our front office, you and AK, against any of the front offices in the NBA. If I had to bet on y'all, I would say our boys will whoop your boys. Can you still play? You still shoot it?
I can still shoot it. I certainly can't move the way I used to move. I'm at an advanced age now. I've seen you down there in the weight room doing your rehab and, we're in there working out or whatever. I think I could still shoot it, but, a lot of catch and shoot opportunities. I think I'll be able to be successful. Now I can tell you, Arturis can still play. He can still move and he was a hell of a player.
Yeah.
growing up, and obviously played for Lithuania, played against the dream team in the Olympics. And no, I agree with you. I think we could take on a lot of other front offices in the NBA and do quite well.
Yeah, I don't see anybody beating y'all. Seriously. I mean, if you catch a shoot and Artur's with the handles and he kicking it out to you for the three, I don't see too many people beating you guys. I mean, and to be honest, you guys are in great shape. I see a lot of GMs that are not in great shape, but you guys are in great shape. So I see y'all every day. I see you guys every day. Y'all is in great shape. And if you want to throw packs in there too, if you want to go a 3-man team, I don't see none of y'all beating them.
Hey, we might have a little 3-on-3 tournament one of these days, man.
I might need to set that up. Yeah. So my final question to you is, how do the Bulls go about developing talent, and how important is the Windy City Bulls play a part in building their future?
3 years ago when I came in here, I talked a lot about player development, and I think player development is something that's critical to any organization. Whether you're talking about players on the court or off the court, I think we have a lot of examples in terms of how we've, brought in young players and developed them. I look no further than Ayo Dosunmu. I look at Patrick Williams. Those are two kids who, we were able to draft, and I think both of them are ready to kind of take off. With respect to Windy City, we've got a great relationship with our G League affiliate. Chigozie Amide is our G League GM, and we talk daily about, just how do we operate and serve each other. And it's not just exclusive to players. It's players, it's coaches, it's personnel people, it's staff, it's people in the performance area as well. So it's an encompassing organization. Chicago Bulls, Windy City Bulls, there's a lot of intermingling, there's a lot of idea sharing, and it's really a breeding ground for again, not only players, but staff, coaches, and performance staff.
Now you've been part of NBA, the NBA Basketball Without Borders program for a few years. How much has the international game since? I mean, we go back to the Dream Team. I think that kind of opened it up for European players to start falling in love with basketball instead of soccer. How do you see it now going into the future?
So I think international basketball, I look no further than a couple of weeks ago where Eurobasket was played over in Germany, and the amount of NBA players who played in that tournament, the level of competition was elite. It was at a really high level. Giannis, Doncic, our guy Goran Dragic. I mean, the best players in the world are represented in that tournament. You spoke a little bit about Basketball Without Borders. I had an opportunity to go to South Africa a couple of years ago, and it was an incredible experience. I got to give a little shout out to my home nation is Canada. The amount of Canadian basketball players coming out of Canada is unbelievable. So the game is growing. It's truly a global game. I'm happy to be part of it. Being a British, Canadian, American, being part of this unbelievable, iconic franchise is, something that I'm really proud of. And then, again, the game is global and it's growing, and it's only getting bigger and better.
You talked about earlier, the impact that your family had on you and the support they've given you over the years. Tell us a little bit more about that. Because a lot of times, when you have kids, and I have older kids, they think they're old fashioned. We don't know what we're talking about. And sometimes they don't want to listen. But I know my parents, I grew up in a military family. So I grew up with discipline and structure. And that really parlayed me through college into the pro level. That was a big reason why I got to where I'm at today, because of that discipline. So talk a little bit about that and growing up with your family and the support you had when you were younger.
I had unbelievable support. I grew up in a 2-family parent home with my mom and dad. They both worked 9-to-5 jobs. They instilled in me a discipline of hard work, commitment, family first. They really helped me build a foundation for who I am today. And, I thank them for that all the time. I mean, they're both, my mom has since passed, but my dad is retired now. And, we talk almost every single day. And I thank him for helping me get to this point right here, because I sat there and watched how hard they worked every single day. And they weren't working for them. They were working for me. They were working to provide me with opportunities to become who I am today. And without them, there would be no me today. Certainly not in a position like this.
Talk about someone you really looked up to on your way up, and there was a mentor to you that kind of gave you guidance and showed you, just pointed you in the direction that you needed to go, and then you were off and running.
When I first got to Toronto, the Raptors, Wayne Embry was in the front office, and he's really somebody who took me under his wing to kind of show me the ropes. And he said to me one day, he's like, "What do you aspire to do? What do you want to do? Why are you doing this? Because if you want to become an NBA GM, here are the things you need to do on a daily basis to get to that level." And I was fortunate. He was the first Black NBA GM in the NBA. So I kind of had the cheat code. Like, I knew how to carry myself. I knew how to act. I knew where to, I knew how to move in terms of going to scouting kids and building relationships and talking to coaches, talking to other GMs. And, he really taught me how to carry myself in those arenas. He was the first person to tell me that, if you really aspire to be in this position, you got to start to manage up. And I didn't know what manage up meant. It was managing my GM. It was managing the owner when it was appropriate. It was building relationships outside of the organization when appropriate. So Mr. Embry's, we still talk today. He's an unbelievable mentor. He's an incredible man. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Played at an incredibly high level. He ran organizations at an incredibly high level, and he's somebody who's near and dear to my heart.
We as a player, we always talk about, we have two worlds. We have the athlete world, and then you have a family, so there's two worlds, and you try to separate the two. As you know, basketball and in front office, that's almost like a 365, 24/7, but you have to have some balance in life. You got to be able to balance that family time. And how do you go about doing that?
We have, so I'm married. My wife works for, Fortune 500 organization. She's an executive. She travels more than me, which is unbelievable because I travel a lot. We really, really cherish family times, and, we really focus in on helping our kids grow and develop by instilling great values in both of them. We have two little girls, one is 6, one is 14, and, they're near and dear to our hearts, and we love them both dearly. But, we really focus on family time, and just, coming out of COVID, we talked a lot about what are we going to do next, and we really focused on having fun. And that's a really simple word, but we want our daughters to, to work hard and have fun. And, there's a lot of love in this house right here, and, I couldn't have done it without her. I can't do it without her. And it's just a lot of communication and a lot of talking and focusing in on our kids.
If you had to pick one specific skill that has helped you in your career, what would it be?
Boy, that's a good question. Is perseverance a skill? I don't know if perseverance is a skill or not, but it is a word that I use a lot. I wasn't a very good student in high school. I was really focused on just becoming an NBA player, and I had no idea what that entailed. I didn't know that you had to get good grades and, not skip class and, do all those types of things. But, along the way, I failed a lot. And what my father taught me was just perseverance. You just have to continue to try and continue to persevere. And it's the one thing that, I've done throughout my career. I think it took me 15 or 16 years to become an NBA GM. It took me 4 teams to become an NBA GM, but, I've always remained laser focused on, what my ultimate goal was. And, I've reached it, and it was not easy. And there were a lot of failures along the way. There was a lot of change. I've moved to Portland. I moved back to Toronto. I moved to Washington to work for the Wizards. I worked for the Sixers, and now I'm here in Chicago. And, I feel like I persevered over a lot. My family sacrificed to allow me to chase my dream. And finally, we all live here in Chicago together. This is the first time ever. So,
Wow.
Yeah, my wife is unbelievable. So, I lived in DC, she lived in Toronto. She moved to Atlanta, I moved to Philly, because she was along the same way, chasing her own dreams. And, she was in Atlanta raising our 2 kids, and I was flying in on the weekend and, trying to manage things in Philly. And then when I finally got the job here in Chicago, we just sat down and said, it's time. It's like, let's move in together. And she was fortunate enough to get a job here when she moved to Chicago, and, we're off and running, and, she's thriving in her job, and the kids are thriving in school. And, we're trying to win some games here with the Bulls.
Hey, as a girl dad, that's the new term now, girl dad.
Yeah, there you go.
Have your daughters gravitated to sports?
They have. Allison is 14. She's at Whitney Young. She's on the cross country team, and she's excelling. Running cross country. She's going to try and play soccer for the school team, but she also plays club soccer, so she loves soccer. Little Miss Nora is 6 years old, and she's in gymnastics, and she plays basketball down in the basement. She hasn't quite graduated to the Advocate Center yet, but I think eventually she'll get out there and start shooting hoops or playing tennis. But she's really active. She's a great little gymnast, and she has a lot of fun with it.
That's cool. So we're gonna wrap it up now. We're gonna bring Wendy back in here. I know she's probably got something to say. She's never silent. Wendy? Y'all know that, Mark. Wendy ain't quiet. Go on, Wendy.
That is so not true. That is so not true. No, I'm listening to the conversation and enjoying it, because I think this is one of those, we're able to get some really good information to the young kids involved. So we got a couple of questions that I'm going to actually kind of put out to both of you to see what you have to say. The first one that was brought in was, if you were tips, what tips would you give somebody, a young person interested in being in the front office, or someone interested in, as Stacy, as you were, carved a career still in sports after you finished playing? What tips would you give for a young person?
Go ahead, Mark.
Stacey, go ahead.
You the guest. You go. You're the guest. Don't try to pass it off on me.
It's again, there's no blueprint. I think hard work is there's no substitute for hard work. You have to establish a foundation of hard work. On the team side, one of Billy's rules is just don't be late, be on time. And, not only be on time, be first, be early. Billy Donovan is in the Advocate Center every morning at 6 o'clock. I don't think anybody's ever beat him to the Advocate Center. He's the first to leave, last to leave. But within that, he's got incredible habits. He's got habits that he practices every single day, and he tries to instill them with our players every single day. Hard work, high character, selflessness, be committed to your teammates. It's just some of those things. And, I've taken a lot of those things along my career, whether it's been at school, at Urbana University, whether it's been with Nike, where I worked for 11 years. I've taken those habits every single step of the way, whether it was with the Wizards or the Sixers, and now with the Bulls. And, I practice those things every single day. I mean, I wouldn't be in this position today if I didn't practice really good, strong habits every single day.
Yeah. I would just, add that believe in yourself when everybody else doesn't. You gotta believe in you, because if you don't believe in yourself that you can get the job done, then you'll never be able to advance. And, I always say that, difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. Successful people are willing to try. They're willing to fail 100 times and get back up. Unsuccessful people are afraid to even put themselves out there. They don't want to do it because the fear of failure. And so they never advance. And then when the person who succeeds, the unsuccessful person always wants to, throw dirt on them. I could have done that. Yeah, well, if you would have done it, you would have done it. So don't be afraid to fail, because listen, successful people fail all the time. Steve Jobs, all these guys who they're made of impact in society have failed millions and millions of times, but they always persevere. As Mark said, perseverance. They know, they see their goal, they see their dreams, and they focus in on those things and lock in on those things, and nothing's going to stop them from getting that.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I like both of those responses. And as you guys were talking, I was thinking about one of our core curriculum pieces is about self-awareness, and how that's a really important part that we try to instill in the young folks, is that for them to start to learn about themselves all day, every day. Talk about that. It's not easy, but it's actually worth it to know more about yourself, because then you're able to do the things that you're talking about, right? The perseverance piece, to be able to know that it's okay, that if you go to this job, and if you talk to this person, if it doesn't work out, you can try something else, because you're trying to figure out more and more about yourself. And so I like that it's all that we can put it all together in that piece, because self-awareness is, again, it's one of those things we talk about, but it's hard to get folks to be aware, to tap into that, because it's just not easy. It's not easy. Another part that's not easy too is also communication piece. You know, my favorite line I like to say to players is that communication is great when you use it. You know, because I think that we don't always use it. It's one of those things that, again, we talk about it, but we don't always use communication. And so I would like for you, both of you, to kind of to speak to when you learned how effective communication could be for you in your careers. When was that? Was there a time that you were like, oh wait, if I actually did this or moved it or said this or communicated this, I could actually make some movement?
It's a really hard thing to, it was a really hard thing for me to figure out. Quite honestly, is just communicating how you feel, communicating your thoughts, having a confidence to articulate what your thoughts are. You know, my time at Nike was incredible for me. When I got to Nike, it's still one of the most unbelievable brands in the world. But back then it was Michael Jordan and Stacey King and Scottie Pippen and the Bulls. And I was a big part of that in terms from a Nike perspective. You know, we targeted cool athletes who were willing to push through and push limits, and we supported them along the way. And, you know, what I learned from that is it's okay to try different things, try new things, be open to failing, but also be open to communicating all of those things along the way. And, you know, I had some incredible bosses along the way. Stacey, I don't even know if you know Lynn Merritt, who just recently retired. We called him the general. He really infused in me the confidence to, you know, break out of that shell. I was a pretty shy guy growing up, and, you know, he infused confidence in me by challenging me to use my voice. You know, I'm 6'8", I'm a big dude. When I walk into a room, I command presence, and he told me, like, you got to go with that. Like, you're a big person, like, use your voice, use your stature, be confident in what you believe in, and let people know that. And that's okay. And if you make people feel uncomfortable along the way, as long as you're doing it in a really respectful way, people will respect that. And, you know, communication, Wendy, it's critical for all the young people on the call today. Is, you know, use your voice, use your words, and, you know, communicate.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, sports was such a huge impact as far as communication is concerned, because not everybody's going to play basketball, football, play sports. But for me, it really helped me to be able to communicate, because you have to talk on defense. You got to let people know when there's a screen. If you don't talk on defense, somebody's getting their head decapitated. Okay. And then your guard going to turn around and look at you like, hey, man, you didn't call out that screen. So you're forced at a young age to communicate with your teammates, which often translates off the floor, because when you go to class, you're talking, you know, you're in class with, 500 students in a communication class, and you've got to communicate your thoughts. You've got to have confidence in yourself. You're not always going to say the right thing. No one's always going to say the right things. But I think for me to be able to express myself and to be able to let someone know what I'm thinking, I think sports had a big, big role in that. And then, as you know, Wendy, I could talk for days.
You, Stacey? Are you sure? I'm so surprised to hear.
You know what? Your comments are not going unnoticed on this show. I just want to throw that out there too.
So I do have a couple more questions that have come in, but one of them that I want to know is that you both played basketball. If you could choose another sport, what would you choose if it wasn't basketball?
So because I'm at an advanced age right now, I've kind of taken a loving to golf. But
I love the
up,
age.
Growing up, I love playing baseball, and, you know, Jackie Robinson was one of my heroes, and, you know, I love to go out and play right field, and, you know, I had a pretty good stick, so I could hit the ball pretty well. But I love playing baseball. You know, my dad loved baseball, so I took a liking to it. I probably would have chosen baseball.
Well, growing up in Oklahoma, come on, Wendy, it's football country, So I had some pretty good hands as a wide receiver at the high school level and in the safety position. So, but truly though, if you said, forget playing sports, if I could do anything, I'd be a singer. Yeah, entertainer. Yeah. I'd like to get on stage with like 20,000 people and have all the girls going crazy like I was Elvis Presley. See, I saw that movie the other day, Wendy. I got excited. I said, man, I should have done this. I would have been great at this. Because, I got the golden pipes. Nationwide is on your side.
Oh my God.
Shameless plug.
Seriously. I have to get that in. So there's one last question. Actually, it's for me, so I'm going to quickly answer it. It was just asking about, as a young person, they're interested in being a sports psychologist, and so wanting to know like what would be my advice to them as they moved in that space. And so I would say you don't necessarily need your doctorate. I do think that you need both degrees in both degrees in a clinical space and also in a kinesiology space. So you need the kinesiology, the sports psych piece, the movement, to learn how to help players be able to the mental practice. And then you also need the counseling piece, because then again, there's life off the court or off the field, whatever the case may be. So I think you need both of those degrees in order to move past or move forward if you want to do this at any space. So let's do a little what they call it, fast fire, rapid fire of questions. Although there's two of you, so it's going to be not that fast. But so first question. Favorite song? What's your favorite song of all time?
Oh man.
Come on. First thing pops in your head.
California Love, Tupac.
Oh my goodness. I think Encore, Jay-Z.
Okay.
East Coast.
Favorite movie?
Gladiator.
Do the right thing.
So I always say to players that you have a superpower. I think everybody has a superpower. There's something you do really well with little to no effort. So what is your superpower?
Invisibility.
Visibility?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Hey, you know why? Because if I need to slap somebody, they don't need to see me coming. Make me mad, I'm going invisible. I'm slapping. Okay, I'm just telling you.
How about a real superpower?
That is a superpower.
You can't be invisible.
Oh man, see, you just changed the game up on me now. See, okay, if I had to have a superpower, it would probably be X-ray vision.
No, what is your superpower? Not if you had one.
Oh, you talking about? Oh, if you talking about my superpower?
What are you?
Okay.
What is your superpower?
His is the gift of gab.
Yeah, I can communicate. Communication, baby, is my superpower, baby. And the golden pipes. Woo!
Is kindness a superpower?
Yes, it is. Yes,
Kindness.
it is. Okay. Favorite car?
Range Rover.
Audi.
Favorite video game?
Oh, that's easy. Madden.
So that's interesting, Wendy. I have never taken a liking, or I've never played video games. Never.
Really?
Ever.
Not even like
I'll take my daughter to the arcade, but I've never played video game. Never played Madden, NBA 2K. I've never done that.
Really?
Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, none of those.
I mean, I played Pac-Man back in the day, but yeah, no, I've never Pac-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
for those of you that don't know, Google it.
Yeah. I don't think anybody plays Pac-Man anymore.
Aging myself.
Okay, so thinking about it could be a fictional character or a real character. If you could choose one character, somebody that you could be or play, who would you choose?
Blade.
Oh.
Blade the vampire. Yeah. Wesley Snipes' character, Blade.
Man.
Yeah. Because I can walk at night and in the sunlight. And I can kill everybody.
Hey, you try to.
Yeah, I'm Blade.
Black Panther.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever.
That's a good one, Mark. I see you.
Mhm.
I see you,
That
boy.
was-
You raised me
that was
young.
good. That was a good one. That was a good one. So we're gonna close it out with one quick piece of advice you would give to someone that is interested in a career in sports, outside of sports. What would that one piece of advice be?
Just be really diligent. You don't have to make your plan today. It would be my advice. You know, you will find your way as long as you invest in yourself and believe in yourself. You know, hard work, be committed, be a great teammate if you play sports. You know, invest in others, practice kindness, and you will find your way. For all you students on the call today, you don't need to know what you're doing today. I didn't know what I wanted to do until I got to my third or fourth year in college. So be committed to you, be true to you, and use your voice, communicate.
I love that. I love the fact that we started out with, you don't have to have a plan today. Because I think that's where, I think we see that oftentimes, that that's whatever they think of as now, and then that's it. So many other opportunities can come your way that you could miss. So I like that piece. What about you, Stace?
Be yourself and have passion in anything you do. Love what you do. Get up every single day. Love what you do. Love going to work, going to class, whatever it may be. Have a passion for it and love what you do. Because if you love what you do, you don't mind getting up every day, no matter what time it is, to go do what you got to do because you love it.
Yep.
I agree. I like that. That is a really good piece. It's that, what is, I'm trying to remember the phrase that if you get a job doing what you love, you're not working a day of life.
Yep.
Right. That's
I agree.
exactly it. So I want to thank you both for being a part of the Why Not series, for Wisdom Not Why Not series. And want to also just let folks know that we've got 2 upcoming webinars. The first one is in November 15th, and it's going to be about making the deal. So we're going to have some sports agents, some lawyers, different teams, and they're going to talk about how those contracts are done, what goes along. And then also December 6th, which Stacy's going to be back for that. It's going to be David Tyree, the retired wide receiver for the Giants. He's going to come and talk about, you know, what he's doing now, but also obviously that famous cat. Right?
Yeah, it ruined New England's perfect season.
Yeah. So he's gonna talk about that with Stacy. So look out for the information so you can sign up for both of those. So again, thank you both for joining us, and everybody out there, have a great evening.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Stacey.
Thanks, Wendy.
Good
Thanks,
luck,
Mark.
everybody.